Welcome to this explainer. Okay, let's just jump right in. Today, we're tackling one of the most absolutely crucial yet notoriously difficult challenges in business, and that is translating a lofty, inspiring corporate vision into daily, on-the-ground success. I mean, if you've ever felt completely disconnected from your company's big picture goals, well, you are definitely not alone. Having a brilliant strategy is one thing, right? But making sure it actually happens across an entire organization without micromanaging everyone, that's a completely different game. So, we're going to explore the precise tools, the frameworks, and even the psychological balancing acts that are required to build a sturdy bridge from abstract strategy into measurable reality.
Here is our roadmap for today. We're going to look at distilling strategy into action, the anatomy of indicators, the balanced scorecard, 4 key managerial dilemmas, and finally, aligning interests with incentives. Let's get going. Section 1. Distilling strategy into action. Think of your organization's mission, vision, and values like a massive, heavy tabletop. To keep that vision from just completely collapsing, you need structurally sound legs to stand on. And these legs are what we call key success factors, or KSFs for short. A key success factor is an activity or a condition that, if it's not consistently met, will literally throw the company into a crisis. So distilling strategy basically means mapping your abstract corporate goals onto these very concrete table legs. To make this whole strategy distillation thing instantly relatable, let's walk through what we call the hierarchy funnel, just using an everyday analogy. So imagine you have a sick child. Your overarching mission is to be a good parent. To achieve that, your key success factor right now, in this moment, is ensuring your child's health. But, health is kind of abstract. How do you actually measure it? Well, use an indicator. In this case, measuring their temperature. And finally, you set a goal, like maintaining a temperature of 36.8 degrees Celsius. You see how we just funneled a high-level mission all the way down into a single trackable number? That is exactly what an organization has to do.
So you might be wondering, how many of these structural table legs does a business actually need? Well, the average recommended total number of key success factors for an organization is usually around 15. This is enough to cover all the critical bases of your strategy, but it's tight enough to maintain absolute strategic focus without getting distracted.
Now here is the golden rule for measuring those factors. You should have a strict maximum of 2 to 3 indicators per key success factor. Why so few? Well, if you try to track 10 or 20 indicators for factor, you are going to absolutely drown in data. And I think that's a feeling a lot of us know way too well in our day-to-day jobs. This actually ties back to a concept by Herbert Simon called bounded rationality. Basically, as humans, our cognitive processing limits mean we literally just cannot handle infinite data points effectively. Limiting your indicators prevents data overload, and it ensures your managers are focusing on what actually moves the needle.
Moving right along to Section 2, the anatomy of indicators.
The crucial point here really lies in the definition itself. Remember, a key success factor is an abstract concept, like, say, customer satisfaction. An indicator, however, absolutely must be a concrete, quantitative measurement instrument. It's the hard formula that tells you, without a shadow of a doubt, whether or not you're actually fulfilling that KSF.
To build a valid metric, we use the indicator decision tree, which essentially asks 3 really critical questions. First, is the measurement objective? Second, is it complete? Like, does it capture the whole picture? And third, is the employee actually responsible for influencing it? Think about it for a second. If an employee is judged on an indicator that they have 0 power to change, the metric becomes completely useless. Or worse, it's deeply demoralizing. A perfect indicator is objective, complete, and highly influenceable by the person who's managing it.
Which brings us to Section 3, the balanced scorecard.
Created by Kaplan and Norton, the balanced scorecard is amazing because it aligns all your metrics into 4 interconnected dimensions. Think of this kind of like a massive causal chain. You have to invest in learning and infrastructure, which means having the right people and the right tech. Those people then run highly efficient internal processes. Those great processes allow you to deliver an outstanding customer value proposition. And then finally, happy customers are what ultimately allow you to hit your financial targets. It explicitly communicates the strategy across the entire organization, so everyone sees how their piece fits into the puzzle.
All right, Section 4, 4 key managerial dilemmas.
Strategy execution is messy, mostly because, well, humans are the ones managing it. Our first big tug-of-war is between top-down and bottom-up influence. How much of the strategy should come from the top versus the bottom? Top-down influence is rational. It sees the big picture and allows for really rapid organizational shifts.
But bottom-up influence relies on highly accurate local data, and it builds incredibly crucial employee buy-in. If you rely way too much on the bottom, though, you run the risk of localitis. That's the dangerous belief held by local managers that the entire corporate war is won or lost solely within their specific little department.
Next up is the dilemma of conflict. Deciding strategy isn't just economics. Honestly, it's politics. Do you fight tooth and nail for the absolutely optimal, theoretically perfect strategy, or do you make concessions? Believe it or not, often the most effective managers choose to concede. They realize that a second-best strategy that has the enthusiastic acceptance of the team is vastly superior to a totally perfect strategy that's constantly undermined by internal warfare and low morale.
Finally, we have the delicate balance of goal setting. You obviously want demanding goals to drive high performance, but if they aren't achievable, you're just going to demoralize your team. Furthermore, you want precision for clear evaluation, but as management expert James Bryan Quinn notes, if you specify your objectives too rigidly, you can accidentally turn a highly dynamic creative company into a painfully slow, uncreative bureaucracy. You absolutely have to maintain flexibility to adapt to the real world.
And finally, Section 5, aligning interests with incentives.
To really grasp incentives, we have to understand agency theory. This is the relationship where the principal, like the shareholders, delegates authority to an agent, like the CEO. The core conflict here is that both of these parties are rational utility maximizers, but their interests wildly diverge. The shareholders, they want to maximize the firm's overall value. But the executive? Well, without proper incentives, that executive might naturally prefer more leisure time, a little less stress, or maybe some extravagant corporate perks.
So we use metrics to incentivize them, but you've got to be incredibly careful about the unintended consequences of bad metrics. Think about this. What actually happens when you pay an executive purely based on short-term return on investment? Well, to boost their big bonus this year, that executive might cancel vital long-term machine maintenance. They might completely slash research and development. Sure, they make the short-term numbers look absolutely amazing, all while quietly hollowing out the long-term future of the company.
This exact problem is why we have to balance objective and subjective systems. Objective systems use precise formulas, they limit bias, and they set super clear targets. But purely objective formulas have a dark side. They can cause managers to entirely ignore vital areas that are just hard to put a number on, like human resources or team culture. Subjective systems, which are usually evaluated by a board, can account for external noise and those unquantifiable efforts. A healthy organization almost always requires a really thoughtful blend of both.
And this brings us to a bit of actual corporate intrigue. Researchers Majewski and Hagerman noted that executives will frequently manipulate accounting procedures just to maximize their payout. If an executive knows they're going to miss their bonus target this year no matter what they do, they might engage in what's called a big bath. They'll quietly dump every possible expense and write-off into this current, already ruined year. Why? To ensure that next year's profits look absolutely massive by comparison, pretty much guaranteeing a huge bonus later.
Ultimately, operational control is about human behavior every bit as much as it is about spreadsheets. You have to translate abstract strategy into measurable key success factors, map them onto a balanced scorecard, and then carefully link them to incentives that align the agent directly with the principal. So I want to leave you with this final, somewhat provocative thought to ponder. Take a look around your own workplace. Are your organization's current indicators building a sturdy bridge to your overarching mission? Or, through misaligned incentives and data overload, are they silently encouraging your team to burn it down? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep questioning the metrics that drive your world.